The courtroom was packed, yet you could feel the silence pressing heavier than the wooden benches. Reporters' bands hovered midair, the judge's gavel rested untouched, and even the officers standing at the back shifted uncomfortably as the small boy adjusted the microphone in front of him. He was only 12 years old, his feet dangling inches above the floor. But when he finally spoke, his words cut through the room sharper than any lawyer's argument. "The cops beat me," he said in a trembling voice, and instantly, every eye in the courtroom locked on him. The boy's name was Daniel. His story wasn't supposed to reach this stage. To most, he was just another kid from a broken neighborhood, caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time. But Daniel's world had collapsed one evening when he was walking home from his friend's house with a small bag of chips in his hand. Two police officers, mistaking him for someone else, stopped him on the corner. What began as questioning turned into shoves, then blows. Daniel remembered the cold pavement against his cheek, the metallic taste of blood, and the way strangers gathered but did nothing. By the time his mother arrived at the precinct hours later, his face was swollen, and his spirit was nearly broken. Now, standing in front of the judge, Daniel wasn't just fighting for himself, he was fighting for every child who had ever been silenced. His mother, Clara, sat in the front row, tears glistening but pride shining stronger. She had spent sleepless nights preparing him for this moment, whispering to him over and over, "Your truth matters, son. Don't let them take your voice too." The courtroom listened as Daniel described how he begged the officers to stop, how he told them he was only 12, how he cried for his mom. His voice shook, but he never looked down. Some jurors wiped tears discreetly. The judge shifted in his chair, visibly moved. For a moment, justice seemed to tilt in Daniel's favor, and then it happened. Just minutes later, as the defense attorney prepared to speak, the doors to the courtroom creaked open. A man stepped inside, older, weary-looking, his police uniform wrinkled, his eyes heavy with something unspoken. He walked slowly, deliberately, until he stood before the judge. Murmurs swept the room. This was Officer Harris, one of the two accused. But instead of defending himself, he asked permission to speak. When granted, Harris removed his cap, his hands trembling as he clutched it. "Your Honor," he began, his voice cracking. "The boy speaks the truth." Gasps filled the room. Reporters leaned forward, pens racing. "That night, we were told to search for a suspect, a man in his 20s. But I let anger and arrogance blind me. I struck him. I hurt him. And I cannot carry this lie any longer." His words broke like a dam. And suddenly, the courtroom was flooded with something no one expected: honesty. Daniel stared at the officer, confusion in his young eyes. For days, weeks, he had been told the system wouldn't believe him. Yet here was the very man who hurt him, admitting fault before the world. Clara clutched her chest, tears streaming freely now, and not of pain, but of a hope she thought she had lost. The judge's gavel finally struck, not to silence but to restore order. "This court has witnessed something rare today," he declared. "The courage of a child, and the conscience of a man." Proceedings shifted quickly up. An internal investigation was ordered, reforms were promised, and justice, though imperfect, seemed within reach. But the real victory wasn't in the paperwork or the punishment. It was in the undeniable truth that had been spoken. As Daniel left the courtroom that day, dozens of strangers approached him not to pity, but to thank him. Parents told him he gave them courage to speak for their children. Others whispered, "You made us believe again." His story traveled far beyond those courthouse walls, stirring conversations, sparking change, reminding the world that even the smallest voices can carry the greatest weight. Daniel's life wasn't magically healed. Scars remained, both on his body and in his heart. But he learned something powerful: silence is the enemy of justice, and truth, once spoken, can shake even the strongest walls of power. Years later, when Daniel became a lawyer himself, he often remembered that day, the trembling boy who said 5 simple words that silenced a courtroom and set his life on a path of purpose. And maybe that's the message we all need. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing to speak when fear tells you to stay quiet. Daniel was 12 years old when he proved that even the smallest voice can change the world.